If this is not an indictment against buy now, pay later, I don't know what is. Buy now, pay later is not some mythical service, some beautiful service helping people who don't have access to credit cards. Buy now, pay later programs like Affirm and Afterpay are new players in a very old field. Layaway and installment programs have been around for almost a century, appearing for the first time after the Great Depression. Our contemporary programs, though, have adapted and modernized for the 21st century. And these modern programs, in my opinion, don't sue me, they are predatory, and we should avoid them at all costs. I was initially going to create this video as a question, and that was the intention. Should you use Afterpay in, the year of the Barbie movie? Like, should we, okay, 2024, not the year of the Barbie movie, but, should we even be considering Afterpay or the buy now, pay later programs in 2024? Are there any benefits? Are there situations where they could benefit people? Should we do kind of like a pro-con type of thing? I should have known better. As I was researching for this video, I realized quite quickly how dubious these programs are and how completely awful their marketing is. In my opinion, these companies are not in the best interest of an average consumer, despite these companies claiming the opposite. These programs are best left untouched, and we're going to talk about why in this video. There are plenty of articles out there that do take a more even-handed approach, that talk about the pros and cons of these programs and also kind of dig into the details of these programs, talking about the terms and conditions, the more ins and outs. There's a time and a place for such a content. And I'm not saying it's shit, don't read it, don't look at it. No, it's not what I'm saying. There's a place and a time and a use value for an analysis or consideration of these programs in depth. I am not interested in the minutia of these programs, because I think the problem isn't in the minutia of these companies and the specific contract details. I think the buy now, pay later program is flawed in itself, and also how these companies are positioning themselves in the market. I'm far less interested in being even-handed like many of these companies are, or these journalists are, people writing them, because they have to in some ways be even-handed because they work for a company or a corporation. I do not have sponsorships in a traditional sense, and I also don't answer to a boss, so I can call these companies hot pieces of garbage. It's kind of the point of my channel. I can also call them, in my opinion, predatory, and I can call them out on their bullshit in ways that an average journalist may not be able to. So let's talk about the basics of the buy now, pay later program. These programs work very similar to a credit card. They offer you the ability to make a purchase without paying the total amount up front. So you would pay only a small portion of the total cost of your purchase at the time of purchase. So depending on the program, because there are different ones out there and they do operate differently in terms of how much credit you get extended and also how long the terms are. But when you create an account, you'll generally be given a credit of somewhere around $600. And I think that this extension is already, it feels a little dubious to me, because the average first credit card that somebody can get is typically around $500. I've seen $250, I've also seen $750 and $1,000, but $500 tends to be more of the average. So $600 is already more than the average. So when you check out, you can make a purchase up to the maximum of the credit that they've extended to you. And then your purchase is split up into usually equal payments over a set period. So it might be something like 4 payments over 6 weeks, with payment number 1 happening on the day of your purchase. And I'll show you an example as we go through. So you'll make a payment every 2 to 3 weeks. Places like Affirm, you can pay, let's say, on a monthly basis, but they will, to my knowledge, charge you interest on more extended payments. Afterpay is the biggest player out there. They have 14 million customers or users, and Affirm has 1 million. And so Afterpay is the one that I gained an experience with. And they're kind of the larger player we're going to be like using examples with. So they will split up your purchase for payments over 6 weeks. These services advertise no credit checks and no late fees. Afterpay itself claims on their website that they do not charge interest, they pause accounts, which gives you a different experience to a credit card. So you don't make your payment on your credit card, you're charged 19 and 23% interest. The average American actually pays around 24% interest, average Canadian, I think it's 22. I had these numbers a while back, but I know that the American one is about 24%. So you're not paying that interest. So if you don't make your payment on your account gets paused, and then your ability to make purchases is essentially frozen. And if you've never used these programs, you might be wondering, how do they make money? So the company makes money by charging a service fee for a brand or a company to use their service. So they're charging the same kind of service fee as debit and credit cards. They just tend to have a larger fee. How the buy now, pay later works is that the company that you're using, let's say Afterpay, and let's say you also buy a $200 item. Afterpay fronts the charge of the $200 on your behalf. And then you pay Afterpay in installments. Like, you're not paying the company you bought it from in installments. It's already technically paid for. You're paying Afterpay. So it does kind of work similar to a credit card in that, like, they are fronting that charge and it's not coming out of your wallet initially. So Afterpay or Affirm, they're the ones who are taking the risk. And they also don't typically have the benefit of the credit check or credit history that a credit card company would have. Many articles and companies like Equifax have positioned these services as a way to build credit history. And Equifax has actually a pretty even-handed report on buy now, pay later programs, which I think is a bit problematic given how big and reputable Equifax is. Not only is Equifax reporting some of the most positive that I've seen, but I also think their positioning of these programs as a way to be a tool and something helpful for building credit and credit history is problematic because I think it's misleading. They argue that these programs can positively impact your credit score if you use them correctly. And they say that, like, on average, one of their stats is like, on average, people who use these programs see an average like FICO increase of 13 points, something like that. I think this is a misleading claim because not all of these companies run credit checks on you, or gather the kind of information, or report the kind of information, most importantly, report the kind of information that would be necessary to impact your credit score. I don't think that many of these companies are doing the credit reporting that Equifax is leading you to believe. If you are looking to use these services to impact your credit score, you are going to have to do your due diligence and contact an individual company to see if this is actually true. If they will gather information and or report information. If you're somebody who wants to impact your credit score, the way to do that is not to blindly use one of these services. What you should be doing is contacting a financial professional and asking them credit is so personal, and credit history, like your specific situation, is so personal. Like, I think it's a bit irresponsible to say, use this to impact your credit score. Girl, Equifax, my girl, no. You can get in contact with a professional, like a financial professional, for free at many banks, and you can ask them, how can I, in my specific set of circumstances, increase my credit? Like my credit score. What can I do? What is helpful in my case? Because somebody who is at, let's say, a 300 might need different tools or different strategies than, let's say, somebody at 600. All of this completely misses the point and is a distraction from the larger problem that all of this can lead to overspending, or it promotes overconsumption. We're going to talk about that now. I have some alarming information to share with you later on in this video from the Consumer Finance Protection Agency, the CFPA. what I just said, that it increases overspending, I have concrete information from a report that they generated to prove that this is the case. Bear with me. I decided to take one for the team and I signed up for Afterpay. I wanted to know, I wanted an experience with the interface to see how it worked, to see what it was like so I could give my own opinion on it. So I waited until I was going to make a purchase over $100 and then I used Afterpay. So they, with no credit check, no nothing, they loaned me $600. And as I mentioned, this is sneaky because it's more than a first credit card for many people. So that's an enticing factor all on its own. I bought one item with this. I bought one item with Afterpay. I bought it at the mid-March. You're going to see screenshots now. And it was $170 with tax. So it split up my purchase into 4 payments of $42.70. Sorry, $42.72, 3 payments of $42.72, 1 payment of $42.70. According to the CFPA, the average transaction for all buy now, pay later programs is $135. And actually, according to Afterpay, their average transaction is $150, sorry. So that checks out. One of the reasons why I signed up is because I wanted to know, could I change the terms? If I wanted to, could I split this up into 2 terms or more than 6? And you do have some flexibility, but not really. Especially on your first use, it's basically 4 payments. It tells you have 4 payments. This is what it is. Initially, when I was charged $42.72, I had a bit of a thrill. My mind went, oh, that's all? That's it? $42? That's not $50. It's not even $45. It was under $45. And my brain didn't do the math right away. 4 payments of $42.72 did not feel like it was $170. That, the purchase that I made, I thought about it for several weeks because $170 is a lot to me to spend on an individual item at one time. And I thought a lot about it and I was like, wow, it's $170. I want to make sure that I'm dotting my I's or crossing my T's. And I thought about it a lot. The moment I saw $42, it kind of felt like I had overthought the whole thing because in my mind, it felt like I was only paying $42, which is not true. It scared me just how smoothly and easily and digestible that purchase went down. It made the $170 purchase stomachable. Easy. I didn't worry about it. I didn't think about it. And that is the danger of Afterpay or of these buy now, pay later programs. When I went into this purchase, I said, you're going to buy the one thing and that's going to be it. And after I made this purchase, I had a day where I was like, maybe I should keep using it. And I caught myself so quick, absolutely not. That is the danger of Afterpay. This is exactly how people get addicted and how they overspend. It's very easy to overspend when you have large amounts of money that become more digestible, that become easier to swallow. That the breaking up of the payments makes it easier to stomach, makes it less of a big deal because you're not dealing with a big number. According to Afterpay, people who use the service spend 40% more than those that don't and spend 50% more frequently than those that don't. This is how Afterpay markets their products and exactly why I think this is predatory. They are aware of how their program facilitates overconsumption or fuels overspending. People spending more than they have intended or more than they would without the service. They're telling companies, use our service, people will buy more. To me, it shows just how aware they are. All their talk about smart spending is absolute bullshit when this is how they market their products. It's a sales pitch to make the consumer more comfortable, to make you feel like they care. It's kind of disgusting to me to say one thing to the customer, spend smart, spend carefully, spend thoughtfully, and then to the business, people spend 40% more. That's some like, if you do not realize how much you're spending, it is easier to overspend. I cannot emphasize this enough. I want to quote a very famous study from Lowe and Harvey right now. It's from 2012. This is very well known and well cited in the shopping addiction space. Here's the I'm giving you the full block quote, not only because there's so much good information in it, but I want you to have the full context. Compulsive shoppers are more materialistic in their choice of products. They are more likely to overspend, but less likely to notice their overspending or to emotionally react to the effects of it. They are less likely to search for additional information about the physical characteristics or symbolic meaning of products that they are considering as possible purchases. They are less conscious of their budget limits when shopping. They are more likely to resort to payments by credit card when the cash that they have available is insufficient for the purchases that they want to make. All these features reflect the reduced levels of behavioral control associated with shopping addiction. This is a service that is tailor-made for overspending. People who overspend, right? So what the language of this first part is, people who overspend are less likely to emotionally react to overspending. They're less likely to notice that they're overspending. That is easier to do when we break down these scary numbers, when we make them smaller and we make it digestible. According to the CFPA, in the US, the buy now, pay later industry grew from $24 billion volume between 2019 and 2021. This is a growth of 1,092%. And dollar volume is basically the money that people have spent. This is not necessarily a growth as in people are spending $22 billion more. It's people are transferring more of their purchases over to this program or this style of buying, which is a problem. More people are comfortable with the concept of buy now, pay later. What is also clear from the CFPA is that what people are purchasing with these programs are not necessities. It's not things like groceries or rent or essential purchases. It's things like makeup and clothes, non-essential items. People are buying consumer goods, right? For fun purchases. That's what's happening with buy now, pay later. These buy now, pay later programs have essentially made overspending, impulse purchasing easier to do. Let me make this even more clear. This is a direct quote from the CFPA and the report that they did on the buy now, pay later programs. BNPL borrowers were on average much more likely to be highly indebted, revolve on their credit card, have delinquencies in traditional credit products, and use high interest financial services such as payday, pawn, and overdraft compared to non-BNPL borrowers. BNPL borrowers had higher credit card utilization rates and lower credit scores. However, many differences between BNPL borrowers and non-borrowers predate BNPL use. Further, contrary to the widespread misconception, BNPL borrowers generally have access to traditional forms of credit. In fact, they were more likely to borrow using credit and retail cards, personal loans, student debt, and auto loans compared to non-BNPL borrowers. What the hell? Oh, if this is not an indictment against buy now, pay later, I don't know what is. Buy now, pay later is not some mythical service, some beautiful service helping people who don't have access to credit cards. Are there people like that who use these services? Sure. I bet you there's somebody who's going to pop off in the comments or who could pop off in the comments. And I'm not saying that this service couldn't ever help somebody. BNPL, these programs know exactly what they're doing. They are helping people who are already overspending overspend more. I brought up the Lowe and Harvey article to illustrate how prime BNPL is for people who are over-consuming and who are potentially shopping addicts. This, in my opinion, is very damning evidence to suggest this is exactly how these programs are being used. What this shows, in my opinion, is that people who are already overspending or having problems with spending, they're turning to BNPL to facilitate the way that they've been spending. And I am not indicting people who are overspending or have a spending problem. This is not me saying, screw you, you suck. No, not at all. I think this is predatory. I think that these programs know very well that people are having trouble with spending and overspending and are facilitating problematic behavior. Like, it's taking advantage of somebody who's in a vulnerable position. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. I'm somebody who has spent a lot of time on the internet talking about conscious consumption. I am not, however, immune to the psychological impacts that these programs can have. My very first experience using this program was a thrill and an excitement about like how good I felt buying stuff. In my opinion, these are worse than credit cards. The installment programs are so much worse because it makes overspending easier to do and easier to swallow. And it's for these reasons why I think even the well-intentioned person can get sucked into overspending with these programs. Yes, I was just going on about how it helps facilitate people who are overspending to continue to overspend, but it can also lead people who haven't overspent or are spending within their means, or perhaps like you're not in debt, but maybe you are spending a lot of your money. It can help you spend even more. All of this credit card stuff is such a distraction from what these companies are actually doing. It's a way to make them seem friendly and benign when they are not. I got so heated in this and so angry because like I've gotten heated talking about influencers because I think there's so much garbage happening there. This is worse. Like, people who facilitate overspending knowledgeably, like, this is gross. This is nasty. This is nasty corporate behavior. Don't get involved. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't start. And if you have afterpay or Affirm, Sezzle, Klarna, if you have those, I highly encourage you to make your final payments and close out your account. I am not a financial professional, so please take what I am saying with a grain of salt. If you need financial help, go to an expert. If you need help making a payment plan or a budget or debt repayment, talk to an expert. I am not that person. And I think that, like, even though I feel like I have good evidence to back up what I'm saying, I'm still not a financial expert. And go talk to an expert about your specific circumstance. I get angry when I see predatory BS like this, and I'm very happy that I exist as a non-corporate entity to be able to tell you the bullshit that's happening. Equifax. How can you get behind this with this information? That's the video today. We're ending on a positive note and, like, you know, some smiles. I hope that you learned something from this video, and I also hope that if not, you found some entertainment value. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today. I would like to hear your experience with Afterpay or Buy Now, Pay Later, Affirm, Sezzle, Klarna, whatever you've used. If you've used them, I would love to hear your experience, how that went for you in the comments. I always wonder, did I say thank you for watching? Because I always want to make sure that I say thank you because I appreciate you so much. That's it. That's the video. Thank you for the millionth time. I hope to see you again around here soon. Bye.